This here is a darkling beetle. It lives out here in the vast desert of northwest Utah, and he's on the move. Where to? I don't have a clue, but I can tell you about the town he's leaving behind. Welcome to Lucin, Utah. There's abandoned cars, weeds. Once in a while, a train will pass through. Yup, there's not a whole lot here in Lucin. Well, except for this man. But who is this man? This man who lives in an airplane hangar, who flies a Cessna to get to his closest friends. Who is this man? This man who lives in the middle of nowhere, who lives 25 miles from this bar with this man inside, who owns a bunch of guns, works with machines, and made this thing. Who is this man?
My name is Ivo Zdarsky, and this is where I live.
As you've gathered, this man isn't from around Lucin. He grew up in Czechoslovakia before the fall of the USSR. He didn't like it much.
It's kind of hard to do anything. The communists were in power there. You cannot have your own business. It's kind of difficult to fly there, so I kind of didn't feel like I could be myself.
He really wanted to leave the country, but it wasn't easy.
There was an iron curtain. They have a machine gun towers and barbed wire to keep you in. They like to keep you.
So when he was 24, he escaped the country the only way he knew how, by flying across the border in his self-built airplane.
So I drove up close to the border between Austria, and sometime at 3 o'clock in the morning I took off and I just glided over to Austria and I found myself at Vienna International Airport and I landed there. And then I just showed them my expired passport and I asked for asylum.
And the world took notice.
I guess they had never seen anything like that before, so I think they liked it. I liked it.
Ivo then moved to Los Angeles and built up a successful airplane propeller business. But even LA couldn't fit his big ideas.
I kinda needed a place to test my other idea, which is how to do it in the middle of the city. That's how I found this place in Utah. It was for sale, so I bought it. And I've been here for 8 years.
And what was Ivo's big idea that brought him to Lucin? Well, it's behind that door over there. Inside sits an 8-propeller flying machine, able to lift off and land vertically. It's basically an airplane-helicopter hybrid of sorts. It's kind of funny looking, but the damn thing actually flies. So what's Ivo's next big project? A solar-powered aircraft? An innovative propeller design? Some kind of new way to fly?
The next big one is that spear gun idea, which actually it works better than I thought. That doesn't always work that way. Sometimes I get really bad ideas.
Even while inventing new spear guns and the like, Ivo still finds the time to get out of the house. In fact, that's him over there, hiking on the side of a mountain. It's just him, nature, and his customized rifle.
I take the gun with me because of the mountain lions.
However treacherous the hike, it's always worth it. You get a good view of Lucin. It actually looks pretty nice from here, don't it? You know, I still wonder, why did that darkling beetle ever leave this place? Maybe Lucin wasn't right for the little guy. Maybe it's escaping to the next place where it can be itself. For Ivo, though, looks like this might be his last stop.
Kinda realized that this is what I always wanted. I kept escaping until I escaped to Lucin, and now I don't have anywhere else to escape. Like man is stuck here.
That was a great answer.
Well, no, it's also a truth if you think about it.
The paper airplane you folded in middle school, horrible design. But I've thrown a paper airplane 214 feet. I'm John Collins. I am the paper airplane guy, world record holder for paper aircraft distance. So the year we got the record was 2012. It was, one of the great days in my life, actually. I look back at my child being born and the world record. Those are great moments for me. I named the world record plane after my wife. The name of the design is Suzanne. This is how you fold Suzanne. You start with the short side of the paper up, you take the page and put it against the right side. So now when you unfold that, you've got an X in it. After that is to take the right hand straight down from the top of the plane. You fold the plane in half. It's just 8 simple folds. There are a lot of different kinds of folding techniques and a lot of different kinds of paper airplanes. There's planes that boomerang back. There are planes that are made to fly straight very far. There are planes that are made to stay in the air for a long time. Every great paper airplane, distance or time aloft, has very accurate folding. Most people want to know how I got into paper airplanes, and the reality is I never got out of them. I am curious by nature. I love math and science. The cool thing about paper airplanes is it's a way to actually discover something real about flight. What most people don't know is that we don't know the exact cause and effect for lift. Every little paper airplane throw is like a little science experiment. Here's the laboratory right here in your hand that you could use to do real science. Teachers kind of don't like kids to do paper airplanes. It has this bad boy kind of renegade reputation. If they could discover that paper airplanes actually are science, that they're doing science and having fun doing it, I think that's an incredible breakthrough. Paper airplane throwing class, yes.
Jetliners are basically flying homes. It's a sealed pressure canister. It's incredibly strong. It will last practically forever. I'm Bruce Campbell, and you're inside the cockpit area of my 727 home. I can appreciate that some folks might feel a bit isolated or that it might simply strike them as an unusual living environment. But for me, it's always felt completely natural. My entry is via the aft air stairs, which are retractable and are retracted whenever I leave for an extended time. The aft area of the aircraft now is my living space. My very primitive shower is located there. The 2 natural aft lavatories are both functional. Sleeping quarters are there in the form of a simple futon sofa and a bench where I spend lots of time embellishing elements of the aircraft. Jetliners retire at the rate of about 3 per day. For the most part, I think we shred them. And then we spin around 180 degrees and make a home after having just shredded an aerospace class home-size structure. If you were an extraterrestrial looking down on this behavior, you'd wonder whether this species has all its marbles in place or not. People have asked me whether it crashed here, and I simply restored the wreck. That's an odd thing to hear. It's completely impractical. Next time you're in a jetliner, close your eyes for a moment. In your mind, remove all the seats and all the other people, and then open your eyes with that vision and consider the expanse of the living room. It's a good environment, it really is.
This is tube food. And we call it tube food because it is food that is packed in a tube.
U-2 pilots in the Air Force are a lot like astronauts. They fly as high as 72,000 feet, and there's no oxygen, so they wear pressurized suits and helmets to breathe. The only way to eat is to slurp through a straw.
What we do here is we make and design rations for the U.S. military. We are the only people in the world who make it, and these are tube foods. We have approximately 19 different varieties that we make here. Apple pie, key lime pie, beef stew, truffle mac and cheese. The products used to be very pureed. It looked a lot like baby food. In fact, many of the pilots used to think that Gerber manufactured the tube foods for them. But about 5 years ago, the pilots came up to us and they wanted something that had texture more like regular food. If you have a beef stew, they want it to be able to taste the peas and the carrots and the meat and the potato separately, not just as one mashed up product.
So Dan and his team of food scientists in this lab set to work.
We try to grind things up so that they do have a particle size that's small enough to fit through this tube, yet still gives the texture that the person would normally have.
Those tube food flavors aren't the only thing they've developed in this lab. From powdered cheese to instant coffee, they've invented a number of products that eventually made their way into civilian life. So, is tube food our future?
There hasn't been an effective use of these products in this country outside of the U2, but we can see where it might be useful for like students in a dormitory, campers, anyone who wants to have an easy eat-on-the-go item.
You take, probably the worst turbulence you've kind of experienced and multiply it by about 10, and that's the potential that we're going into.
That's the voice of Justin Kibbe. He's a pilot.
My job title says Hurricane Hunter Pilot.
Yeah, he flies planes through hurricanes. It's all in the name of science. He works for NOAA,
The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
These missions are for data gathering to track and study hurricane paths and movements. But Justin Kibbe and I aren't talking about data. We're talking about what it feels like to fly an airplane through a hurricane.
It starts to get cloudy, and once you're in the storm, you'll start to hear rain hitting the windscreen. It can be very loud. It surrounds you. It surrounds the whole plane. Probably the best way to describe it is if you have ever lived in a house with a tin roof. It's hard to hold a conversation inside.
These are the conditions hurricane hunters fly through every time they go on a mission, because the point of flying through a hurricane is to fly through it and get to the eye. And he was telling me about the first time he ever did that.
It was 2010. We're flying into Hurricane Earl.
What's the latest information we're getting about Earl, Chad?
135 miles per hour and still getting stronger.
And then I remember breaking out into the eye of the storm. Everything just kind of stopped. Everything, the noise stopped, the lightning stopped. It was pitch black out. You could see stars above you. It was really beautiful, serene, it was quiet. And it was a holy shit moment. What did we just do? What just happened? And a bolt of lightning lit up the entire outbound eye wall where I could see it visually. And all of a sudden I was like, oh man, that's gonna be scary. It was a rough ride on the way out, but I'll never forget it. It was probably one of the coolest that I'd been on.